Welcome to Legacy Cast, where we talk about your story, your way, and what are you doing to make sure that people know about you many generations from now. Welcome, Legacy Cast guest. This is your host, James Snow, with the program Legacy Cast. And here we talk to people from around the world about things that they're doing in their lives that's going to create value not only for the people that are around them, but also the community and for many generations to come, quite literally. And so I have a guest with me today, Ollie Matthews, and he's joining us here. I guess are you stateside, or are you actually in Australia? Because I was picking up on the accent when we were talking. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Funny enough, I was in New York last week, and I got said, "Are you Australian?" No, I'm British. I got asked 3 times, so apparently we sound alike.
Okay, well, I guess as we get into it, I'll be able to differentiate the accent a little bit better there. I certainly welcome to the program here today. And so when you're thinking about legacies, I love speaking to people specifically in Europe, because your outlook on legacies and the American perspective tends to be a little bit different. And I guess here in the States, people are a lot more it's more of that instant gratification kind of thing. And so, looking at legacies, it's like we've lost a bit of that. And so that's why I love speaking to people in Europe, because, it seems like you still hold on to those traditions. And so what does that mean to you, Ollie? When you're thinking about a legacy?
I guess with me is just, there's a personal way of wanting to know that while I'm here, I've done all I can to actually help and impact the lives of as many people as possible in a positive way. Because we live in a world there's so much negativity, and there's so much conflict. There's so much we can't control, but the things we can, then we can be positive about it.
Sure. And I like how you put that, because that's one of the things that I see, is that a lot of people spend so much energy on the things that they really cannot affect or cannot influence. And it's really just wasted energy, that you spend so much time on things that you can't do anything about, and really you should spend some time about those things that you can change, and the things you can have an influence on.
Yeah, definitely. Over here, we've had a massive heat wave, and I think it's been pretty hot most places where it is actually the summer, and people have been moaning about the weather, saying it's too hot and it needs to calm down. And then today, as I just said to you, it's been absolutely chucking it down. There's been loads and loads of rain, and people are now moaning about the rain. Hang on, last week you were moaning about the heat. Now you're moaning about the rain, and you can't do anything about it. So you just have to go with it and think about the things you can control.
Yeah, and I'm here in Texas, in the U.S., and when we talk about heat, we're talking about 110 degrees. That's our summer heat in this area, and so I'm sure that's a little bit warmer than what you're getting over there, but
definitely.
Even still, I also look at it from the aspect of, we have service members that, are in the Middle East, and our 110 degrees is nothing compared to what those guys are dealing with. And so,
exactly, and they've got full
gear. They're full gear, and in the full sun. So, as we say here, suck it up, deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. You can't control it. You can deal with it. And there's so much more in life that can have attention paid to it rather than the weather. Sure.
So when you're thinking about legacies in general, would you say that's something that other people should spend some time really considering, not only on their personal life, but their business life? What their business is going to be like, when they pass that to the next generation and so forth?
I believe personally that people should be looking at the legacy. What are you leaving for future generations? Not necessarily for children, but future generations. Let's look at it in a wider field. From my history, it's been apparent that I've got a mission now to leave a legacy started off by my dad. And it's my mission to do that. And it will happen.
Right. So how do you correlate that kind of a philosophy into your business planning? How would you do that?
that's something where having a future vision as to growth, I feel that I know that at the moment I love and I thrive on my one-to-one side of things, but I can't get enough people worked on and impact enough people if I just do one-to-one coaching. So doing podcasts, doing interviews for articles, writing blog posts, doing videos, all these things can actually help me expand. And then there's the growth of, okay, then there's a position for you can build your business to add coaches, to add value to more people in other ways, have courses where these coaches can then learn to impact people, and it kind of filters through. So that legacy has come from the top and just filtered down.
Sure. And, similarly, when you do, say, seminars or things of that sort, that's something that I do, seminars and workshops. That way you're actually in front of more people and you're able to affect more lives that way. And then in turn, they can spread that message.
Yeah, exactly. I was over in Santa Monica last year, and there was a guy there who's got a series on Netflix called The Kindness Diaries, a guy called Leon Logothetis. And I messaged him, and his journey is his series was going across the world. He was a not an accountant, I want to say broker or something for his dad's business. And basically he didn't like it, went to America. He's had a couple of stories before this, but he went around the world based on the kindness of others. Literally had his 1970 motorbike and sidecar called Kindness One. And he even had the gas paid for by other people. It was based on the kindness of others. He couldn't take cash. It was about believing he could get around the world and make an impact based on people's kindness. And as he went through, he saw people that he could give back. There was a guy in Chicago who was homeless, basically said, look, I haven't got a home, but you can have my bed for the night. And he gave him his covers and let him sleep in his doorway while this guy just slept on concrete. And he gave this guy education so he could do a course and get a job. And then he's now renting an apartment. And he got around the world. And even times where a school needed some books in Indonesia or somewhere, and he gave them fresh running water and books so they could help themselves. And that sort of is massive with the legacy. But I messaged him and said, look, you've inspired me a lot. I want to come over there. I'm in LA with a client. It's going to be easy enough for me to get to where you are. And I want to go down, being in the history of fitness, I wanted to see Muscle Beach and take a walk along there. And I said, I want to buy you lunch. And he said, thank you, let's do that. And he's actually a British guy. Well, he's now got American citizenship, but we met up. And I said, Leon, I want to impact 1 million people over the next couple of years. And he said, you've probably already done that. When you look at the clients you've worked with, there's been thousands over 10 years. There's been people that you've just spoken to on the street, people you've spoken to in offices, people you've spoken to and that have listened to your podcast, videos, and so on. Chances are they've then spoke to another person or two people with something that you've said. You've spoken at seminars and everything. And before you know it, you've impacted millions and millions of people. So if you're doing the right thing, you're already leaving a big legacy, I feel.
Yeah, and we really should, I was just doing a lecture yesterday. We should be very intentional and deliberate about what we're doing so that it does create that legacy. It's, just as, the words that we use in conversation or the body language that we have when we're speaking with people, so we're conveying the correct message. We should also be deliberate in, what we're doing so that we're passing that legacy on. And that's something that in turn, the next person can pass along as well, just as you were mentioning, to where it has that snowball effect and continues over and over and over.
Yeah, and it's one of these things where people think, what should I do? And the right thing is always the right thing to do. If you know you're adding positivity to the world, then surely there's not, people will have things to say that are negative about you adding positivity. It's when they start pointing the finger, they're literally the 3 fingers pointing back at them. That is always going to be the case. You try and help someone else will get annoyed. And you try and add some value somewhere, someone else gets annoyed. And that is something you shouldn't be looking at taking personal or stop you from getting your message and your powerful message across.
Sure. So when you're looking at your business model from the CEO standpoint for the moment, uh, what would you say maybe a few things are that are most concerning to you? Not necessarily keeping you up at night, but if they do, what were a few examples there?
Well, the thing that I've got is that it's getting my message across in a way that it's knowingly authentic, not pushing a marketing aspect, but knowing I need to market to the point where being in the health industry, people need to focus on their health. I'll go through my story as to why this has happened and why I'm where I am when you want me to do that. But it's something where people need to focus on their health. The trouble is people wait until it's too late to start focusing most of the time, to that point of no return. Now, if you break a glass, you can fix it, but you're still going to have the cracks there. Better not to drop that glass in the first place. Much better. And with me and my business, the big thing I want to know is that I am being authentic with it, with the growth, that when it gets to getting millions a year, that I've done it in an authentic way. And it will happen because of the growth that's happened over the last few years. Everything I know, I want to know that we see so many people that are dishonest. I want to know that that conversation I had on Tuesday 4 weeks ago isn't going to catch up with me 4 years' time because I've been honest with it. And if you're honest, you can remember things. And so many people will lie about things just to get instant gratification, as you said about being over there. It's not saying that Americans are dishonest. I love America, and it's a massive. But I would move there in an instant. When I get the chance, it'll happen. But instant gratification leads to a lot of dishonesty.
It does. It does. So, would you say that it's important for people then to create some sort of personal and business strategy for themselves so that they can create this legacy mindset?
Yes, I believe you need a strategy. Going in blind is never going to be the best way of doing it. Do you need a perfect strategy? No, because perfection usually leads to procrastination.
Sure.
And when we look to iron out all the creases, get everything 100% perfect, we end up not starting. Some of the best businesses have actually been made, provided you're not making any negative impact. Some of the best businesses have been made by building the plane whilst it's already in flight, by learning as you go. Sure. Now, when it comes to someone's health, okay, you need a certain bit of responsibility there and a bit of knowledge to make sure you're not damaging health. But you can still, there's different levels of knowledge you need to have to impact someone's life. And you can still build that plane whilst you're flying it.
Yeah, and I like how you put that, because I've actually seen in my practice, I'm in the finance world, and I've seen how some people, it's they try to do so much ahead of time and really just spend they're spending so much energy trying to get everything just so, and waste the time to where they could have been actually much further ahead had they not just kept putting it off until it was the perfect, quote unquote, perfect opportunity.
Oh, exactly. And there will never be a perfect opportunity, really.
Mm-hmm.
It goes well with, I keep relating it back to health. Obviously, that's what I do. But it goes well with your health. We always wait till Monday to start a diet, to start a new plan, or the next month and so on. But if we actually start when we say we're going to start, we'll already be so far ahead. An example I have with my own health is when I got married. Now, a lot of people would use marriage for getting in really good shape. I was 6 months before my wedding, and I had a big injury when trying to run a couple of marathons. I turned to powerlifting because I didn't have to look great and I could eat a lot more food. Before I knew it, I had around 22 pounds to lose, 10 kilos. And then I thought, I'm too busy. I can't really be focusing on losing weight now, and losing fat and getting in better shape. I've got a wedding to plan. I'm building my business. And apart from it being a responsibility to me to be in pretty decent shape, not necessarily shredded all year round, but in decent shape, because that's what I do, it's also a responsibility to my family to be healthy. And to my mum, to my sister, to my niece, to my wife, and every one of those people. It's my responsibility to be healthy, to be there if they need me. Now, I pushed that off thinking I'll wait until after the wedding. The wedding pictures came back a few days later, and I had a really big ballooned out face, just like a soccer ball, ballooned out face. And I thought, oh my God, my grandchildren are going to see that picture. And their children are going to see this picture. And when they look on some ancestry, it's going to be recorded, and people down the family tree are going to see a big bloated face. I need to do something about it. But then I stepped on the scales that next day. I had 44 pounds, 20 kilos to lose. So if I'd have started when I knew I needed to start, I would have had half the weight to lose. But I waited until I thought things would be perfect, until after the wedding, because I have more time. Now, that just meant I was going to push it and get worse and worse.
Right.
And that's the same with a lot of people with business as well.
Mm-hmm. And not only is it that you have extra ground to make up, but also other things happen in the meantime, which you may not have happened, had you just done it in the first place. You're adding problems to the scenario. So it's not just like in your case, extra weight to lose. There could have been health implications that come in that would not have existed otherwise.
Exactly. And there's the story that happened with my dad where we didn't even have any knowledge of health implications and he passed away. Mm-hmm. And that was when I was 15. And that he was perfectly healthy. He wasn't overweight, didn't drink loads, didn't really eat that bad. He'd done some training at the gym, and he went into hospital on the Wednesday with a migraine. He was dead by the Saturday. And that was instant. It was like that. There was no knowledge, apart from knowing he was really stressed in his job he had. There was no knowledge that was going to happen. Now, luckily with myself, of being overweight from before the wedding to after the wedding, I get regular blood checks and things, and there didn't seem to be any long-term implications apart from wedding pictures, which we can't really change them now, but then it got in better shape. But some people don't get that opportunity to go back on that.
Sure.
That's the sad thing.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think, just from what you've seen with other businesses out there, what do you think is the most common reason that people give up when they try to start a business, or they end up failing in the early stages?
Same reason people give up when it comes to sorting their health out. They set goals without smaller goals. They set big goals, which is cool. It's 100% cool to set a big goal. It's cool to lose 100 pounds. It's cool to lose, to want to get to 6 figures, want to get to multiple 6 figures, get to 7 and 8 and above. It's cool. But how are you going to get there? What steps are you going to get there? Rather than setting a goal just for a year, what are you going to do in 9 months, 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, 1 week? And what are you going to do every single day to build up consistency and build up the habits? People look at the long term. They look, how can I get from A to Z? They don't look at getting to B, to C, to D, to E, to F, and so on. Right. They literally go from A to, and they forget about these little things that happen in the middle. And then they don't get accountability. Whether you're in health, whether you're in business, whether you're coaching, like in finance or anything like that, having a mentor or someone to help you along the way that has been where you want to go, mm-hmm. or has the knowledge of what you need, that's powerful. There's been studies to show that 95% better results happen after you get accountability. And there's an article I can find if you want afterwards, which just goes through like 25% better accountability if you simply make a plan. 35% if, better results if you simply get different goals. 45, 50, and it goes up to 95%. And that is when you get better results, 95% better results simply by getting accountability. And that may not be getting a coach, but telling people what you're going to do and have someone there just to hold you accountable. So powerful.
It is. And that's very similar to how I'm coaching people when we're talking about business planning and what have you, is looking at what that goal is and then reverse engineer it. Looking where they want to be in 10 years, but you have to back it up. And what are they doing today and next week in order to get to that point in 10 years? So it's reverse engineering the plan in order to come up with really what your course of action is. So it doesn't matter what business you're in. the solution is still pretty much the same.
It's the same with life. It's the same with relationships, with everything. You have to work on the things you do when no one is watching will show where you're going to get. And people forget that. There's a world of massive social media. It's a positive thing, but it can be used negative. But we're chatting over here on a podcast over Zoom because of social media. We connected because of Stephen with social media. Right. I was on that island with Steve because of social media. And I'm where I am now because I've been able to get clients online through social media. Mm-hmm. And that is powerful. But it can also be negative when we look at comparisons that people judge themselves on people that are putting up selfies looking amazing next to a Mercedes-Benz that they don't even own. And they think their life has to be exactly the same as that person in a staged place. And not all of them are going to be staged or anything like that. Some people have worked and really got those cars, and that's cool. I think it's amazing when you see that. But just remember that social media can be positive as much as it can be real. And a lot of times people do things for the likes. They do things for the follows. Sure. But likes don't pay the.
That's true. That's very true. So maybe what are some of the maybe some roadblocks that you've discovered in your career that you would warn someone just starting out to look out for?
The first one was ego. Now, I went from the bodybuilding world of coaching into endurance, and that led me back to getting back into university to start a master's degree in applied sports nutrition. I started working with a guy in the Tour de France, a girl in the Olympics, a world champion triathlete. And that was cool. I was getting them from A to B as fast as possible, but it wasn't focusing on health necessarily. Mm. Now I went back to university to do this master's degree, and I was driving to Oxford, 3.5 hours there, doing my 2 or 3 lectures, and then driving back. Sometimes there was a lot more traffic, and it might be 10 hours of driving once a day in the week. I was absolutely knackered. I was so tired. And I realized that I was doing it because I wanted to work with Manchester United in their nutrition department. I wanted to work with Team Sky and Team GB at the next Olympics and in the Tour de France. And to do that, I needed this piece of paper. I have the knowledge to already do it. I've shown people I can already do it, but I need this piece of paper. Now, that was an ego thing. My ego was judging where I wanted to go and not my heart. And people do that so much in business. The same with health. The same with anything of that. They look at how people are going to look at them when they get there. Now, when I switched to working with business guys, and specifically at busy people, and I realized that people that were so like my dad, rather than the ego of saying, hey, look, I coach Cristiano Ronaldo, or I coach LeBron James, or just something like that, a massive superstar. Great. That's cool. But you're living by someone else's rules, and it's based on the ego of what someone else says to you. If that's truly your 100% desire, and that comes from your heart, cool. That's fine. But when I started working with entrepreneurs and business guys and realized how busy they were, how stressful they were, and how much their health was being impacted without them realizing it, that was when I realized that I was working with my dad, fulfilling my dad's legacy, which has turned into my legacy of impacting millions of people around the world. So taking that ego out when you're starting your business. So maybe not when you're starting your business, when you've got the ball rolling and you've got a bit of a foundation made, so you know where you go and you've got a little bit of a safety net, you can then work a bit harder on what your 100% true, authentic self is going to be.
Yeah, and really good words. I mean, that's some gold nuggets that people need to think about, because, just as it says in Scripture, I'm a person of faith, so Scripture pops in my mind a lot of times when I hear examples. That pride comes before the fall. That's something that's very true. It's very true, and people's ego can get in the way of so many different things and cause so many different problems that you have to put yourself aside and think about really what that mission is. What is that bigger picture, and just taking your ego out of the equation, because that thing is going to get in the way.
Oh yeah, it's when you really believe in what you're doing, it's powerful. It's so powerful.
It is.
And there's no ego involved because of how authentic you're being.
Right.
It's a big thing.
Yeah, and you're mentioning our mutual friend Stephen Kuhn. That I love a lot of the analogies that he uses as far as being your authentic self, and the honesty, integrity, transparency philosophy that he coaches on. That those things are so important in business and in life. That just the simplicity of it is very very profound, and certainly something that I encourage people to look into is learn about those kinds of things, because they're going to help you and pay dividends, not just in your personal life but also your business life.
Yeah, I've got a lot of respect and a lot of time for Stephen. We've only known each other, say, 3 months, but we connected, and there was that instant click there because of
Sure.
Just you can sense and you can feel when someone is authentic, when they're open, they're honest, and they're ready just to be a good friend. And he's one of those people.
Yes.
Very good person.
Yes. Absolutely. So kind of to follow up the previous question that I had for you as far as the roadblocks, what would be maybe some resources or some support areas that people could look for that are going to help them get further ahead in their goals?
It depends on what niche you're in when it comes to what resources. Like, my resources are going to be more from their health point of view, as in finding the mentor. And there's so many books, and I'm the worst one for it. I buy books and then they go in the bookcase and I don't read them all. It's just, oh, that looks good, and it's only £5, and you buy it and you don't read them all. Now, when it comes to reading them, I'm trying to think of a couple that just jump out when I think, that question is kind of, I need to know the niche in order to find out what it was, because with me, it's been getting a mentor. One of my clients has turned into one of my biggest mentors, Ron Reich. And my mentor now is a guy called John Romanello, and he's a coach. I pay. He helps me with my writing. He helps me with my business side of things. So everyone's mentor is going to be different. But if there's someone that you really resonate with, so 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, I think it was, when I first knew who John was, and I knew about his book, and it had the foreword by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he'd trained Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you think, this guy's really high up on this level. How can I actually get to work with them? Don't see someone as a celebrity you're never going to be on the same lines with. Everyone is a human being.
Right.
Whether that's the biggest celebrity in the world, whether it's The Rock, whether it's Tony Robbins, whether it's anyone like that, they're still a human being. And I believe if you do the right thing and you really want to work with someone, you can do that. Now, maybe you can't do it straight away, so you have to find someone to work towards to get to them, but you can do that. If you're positive and follow that person as well, you can be mentored by someone without actually knowing them. I say without knowing them. You can know their work. Gary Vaynerchuk always puts content out. You can be mentored by Gary Vaynerchuk without ever being in the same room, without ever sharing a phone call with him. By seeing what they do, follow what they do, be inspired by what they do, and add your own touch to it. So I feel there's so many different resources. There's so many different books. There's so many different websites out there. But finding someone that you truly, honestly know is doing something you want to do, and start working towards even 10% of what they're doing, that's going to get you a lot further than just reading a book.
Sure. Yeah, and mentors, I can't state enough how valuable that is, because they've done what we need to do. They've achieved what we need to achieve, and they've reached the place to where we want to get. And so if we surround ourselves with those kind of people, it can only help. It can only rub off on us. It's like the saying, where we are the sum of the 5 or 6 people we surround ourselves with and spend the most time with. I really believe that the people that we surround ourselves with, it's just almost by osmosis that rubs off on us, and we start picking up, their traits and their qualities and, their characteristics, and then, those things will start to really present themselves in our lives. Is, what they've achieved, we will start achieving.
Yeah, and I think as well, don't just be close to someone because they're family. I'm a big believer in family. I've been through a lot with losing my dad, and it got me closer to my sister. It got me closer to my mum and to my stepdad. Now, there's other members of family which I don't get along with. Just because someone is family doesn't mean you have to spend time and let them bring you down. You can get to a point which is powerful where you can actually spend time with them and their negativity just bounces off you. And with social media, this is the other positive thing I said about how I connected with Stephen. And we'd connected on a level that we didn't realize before we'd even met in person. You can have 5 people around you that are so close to you without even meeting them in person. Some of my closest friends through social media are people that are in Canada that I've never even met, or in America that I've never even met, in Australia I've never even met them. But it feels like you know them inside out because of the connection you have with them through video calls, through Skype, through Zoom, through however you do it. Now, what is powerful as well is taking people off your friends list. If someone's negative, okay, there may be a reason for it. I'm not going to say every single person is never allowed to be negative. I'm negative sometimes. I try not to be, but it happens. I'm a human being. I try and have a good morning routine, but it's not every morning. I'm a human being. I miss it sometimes. And when someone is really negative or attention seeking for the sake of it, yes, they may need a bit of help. So you could message them and just find out why. But you can delete people from your friends list. It's your social media. You can have power over it and have knowledge of and have the final say over who is allowed to bring negativity into your life and positivity.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And sometimes it's not the easiest thing to do, but it does become at some point necessary, because there's a term called dream stealers that I've heard some influencers use. That those type of people, they're going to suck the energy out of your dreams, and the more you're around that kind of a person, the more it brings you down. So we have to be very selective about that. Sometimes you can't eliminate 100% of them being around, because like you say, they might be family or just someone you're not able to completely avoid. But for what you can, it certainly justifies trying to limit that exposure.
Oh yeah, and even around where I live in Norwich, it's a small town, it's a small city, and it seems that most people know everyone. Mm-hmm. Now, I've deleted a lot of people in the same industry off me, because when they see what I actually charge my full one-to-one clients, they've never believed their time is as valuable as that. And you look at it and they say, you can never charge that much. And you think, yes, you can, because people value it. People are paying that.
Right.
And I honestly believe I'm delivering that value to charge that monthly fee. Mm-hmm. But I've deleted a lot of people off the fitness world in my city for that reason, purely because of the fact that I don't need to see what they're doing. Unless they're my friend, I don't need to see what they're doing. And I know that what I'm doing is 100% authentic. It's me. It's powerful. It's getting amazing results for people. And it's from the heart. So why does it matter what my so-called rivals in the city, I don't fit, and even like using the word rivals in the fitness industry is massive, where I work with people who actually have their own personal trainer because of the mindset work I do, because of the nutrition work, because of the depth of what I work. Sometimes when people are online, they need a personal trainer there to actually do the session in the gym. Now, when I was just doing personal training, I had that time where I would be worried that someone would steal my clients and the insecurity in my service. Now, there is still that mindset of I need to work with every single person, even if it's not a right fit, it seems, especially where I am. Now, it doesn't have to be like that, because I can't help 7 billion people or however many people on this planet. So I know I need more online coaches around if there's going to be a positivity spread. There's enough people in this city, in this country, in this continent, like in the world, to spread around. When you look at how many people are actually engaged in the health world as an occupation. Yes, some of them may be given bad knowledge, some of them good knowledge. But even then, there's enough people to help. And there's already enough negativity in the world. So why do we spend time bringing other professionals in our niche down in order to try and bring ourselves up? As Gary Vee says, you people are trying to build the biggest skyscraper by knocking everyone else's skyscraper down rather than building the tallest one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Good analogy there. So as far as maybe something that you've done later in life that you did not do earlier, what would that be that, maybe that you wish you had done sooner?
I would say focus on the mindset stuff. Get meditating. As I said, I don't do it every day. And I would be a fraud if I said I have a morning routine I stick to every single day. Mm-hmm. But focusing on my health from the inside out, rather than letting every single thing impact me in a stressful way, as we said, like moaning about the weather, moaning about it being cold, moaning about it being raining in England. It rains in England. It's a thing that happens, and deal with it. And you can either deal with it or you can move. It's an easy option. And I would let the external things that I couldn't control impact me a lot. And what people said about me would impact me a lot. And it's none of my business what people think about me. As we said, if I'm being authentic, if the people I care about love me, then I should be doing the right thing. And even then, it's okay, as long as I'm being positive, as long as I'm doing something that I believe in truly 100%, then that's the right thing. And I never used to think like that. It was always looking for gratification, external, people externally trying to say, yes, you're good at what you do. You needed people to say that. You need people to say you're in better shape. I dropped about 100 pounds and I thought that getting some muscle would give me this armor that would make me feel really confident and amazing. And it was not the case. It added to it because more people I would feel were judging me. And going internal, doing the mindset work, as much of a buzzword it may be now, but doing the meditation, reading plenty of books, going to reading things, Marcus Aurelius, Socrates stuff, and going through daily Stoic practices, and those things kind of changed my life. There was a film called The Peaceful Warrior, and it was a true story with Dan Millman, who was a gymnast over in the US, and that was amazing. I advise anyone to watch that. Basically, talking about finding yourself. There's a moment in there, and I won't go through the full story of it, but it's on YouTube if you just want to watch it and not download it. You can watch it for free. Now, there he's in this park, and he said, "What's going on?" And this guy looks around. He sees his mentor, this guy called Socrates. He doesn't know his name, and he says he's Socrates. So basically, calls him Socrates. And he said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Nothing's going on." He looks around, and you see there's a couple kissing. There's a dog with a frisbee catching it in his mouth. There's a kid playing. There's someone jumping in the lake. There's birds making noise. He said, "There's never nothing going on." And you think of that. That is powerful. He says, take out the trash. Take out the trash. There is never nothing going on. When we do that, when we live in this moment, you ask, where actually are you? I'm here. Okay. What time is it? It's now. What else can actually impact you on this planet? Nothing, because you're here now. You're where you are. I'm where I am. And we're talking to each other in this conversation. Nothing else matters right now.
Right. That's a good point. It's a good point, and something that perhaps we can learn from that lesson is that not looking backwards so much and just really living in the moment is a good point.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not to say you shouldn't care about the future or care about the past, but we can't change the past. Let's leave it there. Mm. Mistakes have been made. Let's learn from them, and great things have happened. Let's learn from them. And with the future, there's a certain influence if we don't care about any of the future. But right now, we forget to live in this moment purely because of the fact that we're told to do all these things for our future rather than living here and now. And I think I learned with my dad dying at 47 instantly, or over 3 days, that made me realize that I want to live my life right now.
So when you were starting your particular business, what were maybe some of the hurdles that you had to overcome when starting out?
There was the mindset locally that you couldn't make any money in the fitness industry. And I started out and working as a personal trainer, which was like 60, 70-hour weeks, getting £12,500 a year, and not being able to make ends meet and having to go back to the corporate world and really grind out and not loving what I'd done. And then after a few setbacks, I wrote about having an anxiety attack, which basically told me I needed to get back to the fitness industry and what I love doing. And I started making the change from there to get back there. And it was hard to get over that hurdle when people locally are saying that personal trainers can't really make more than about 15, 16 grand a year, because not many people were making that locally. And the average wage in the city is around £22,500. And you think, well, I could make that just in a corporate world. Why didn't I do that? So it took a lot to do that. And especially when I quit that corporate world job to go full time into training again, to coaching people online, that was a big hurdle because everyone was telling me you shouldn't do that. And that hurdle was a leap of faith. You just went for it and knew you had to put in the work. As far as other hurdles, I think the mindset was the biggest one. And being able to grow my mindset into a world of abundance rather than scarcity.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. So now, was that something that kind of came over time, maybe through trial and error, or was it pretty obvious that you had to ignore what other people were saying and changing your mindset?
It came massively over time. Mm-hmm. I done 7 bodybuilding shows thinking that each one that I would get better and better, and I ended up giving myself an eating disorder because I was worried about what other people thought rather than fulfilling my potential. And my last one was in 2012. So it's taken 6 years since I last competed in bodybuilding to get where I am now. It's been a part of me. It still is a massive part of me. Endurance is a big part of me. But if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be where I am now. And it's the same as when I talk about my dad dying. My dad didn't die, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And it's powerful to realize that. And it's selfish of me not to use his life's lesson as experience and to progress.
Yeah. Fair enough point there. So, what is there maybe another profession, if you decided at some point you did not want to do what you're currently doing, is there something out there that you've thought, I'd like to try that someday?
I actually went to music college and used to produce hip hop and rap, and I used to DJ a lot. So I've said that in the next year, I'm actually going to get the studio equipment back and start making some music again, because music has been there for me in the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. It's been the constant throughout my life that I've been able to turn to ever since I can remember, from like 8, 9 years old, listening to Motown and soul, all this stuff, and listening to different types of music, and then growing up listening to hip hop. And that's been a big thing. Whether you can make an actual living out of it, when nowadays it'd take a lot to do it, but hey, it would be the thing I would turn to.
Yeah, I can certainly relate with music because I had the classical music training as my part of my
Oh,
past,
cool.
and so it's I certainly relate with that that universal language exists.
Yeah.
Different genres of music, obviously, but it's still the same thing. It's still
Oh, yeah.
that language that you don't need to translate from one person to another, one country to another. It's understood across the board.
Yeah, and even when you're listening to music in another language, you can still feel the power of it. You can still feel the energy, the emotion in there. And I listen to classical music sometimes when I'm doing some writing and when I want to focus and just want to calm down. I listen to it when driving a lot. And it could be crazy. I could be listening to Jay-Z one moment and Mozart the next, or just something crazy like that. And that's the amazing thing, that there's a different soundtrack for every moment of your life.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I love music.
I do too. I do too. So, what would you say maybe is one of your greatest strengths, character-wise, character strength?
I feel people say it a lot, but honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Honesty, being authentic. I say about it a lot, but honesty is the thing I pride myself on so much, that to the point where if you ask me if your bum looks big in this, I'm going to say yes if it does. That sort of thing. It's just being honest every single time that I get the opportunity to. I mean, yes, there will be little white lies we have to tell people sometimes because it's easier to do that, or it's better to do that rather than easier to do that. But being honest is why I'm where I am now. And it's something which I pride myself in. As I've said, when I get to getting $1 million a year, I want to make sure that's authentic and honest that's done that. I don't want it to be selling some pyramid marketing scheme or anything like that, or promoting a product I don't believe in, or promoting something that's going to be detrimental to someone's health. I want to make sure that I've done it because I believe in it.
Very well put. And kind of the flip side, the opposite of angle of that is, what would you say maybe a weakness is that you have?
There was a big self-confidence weakness, that I didn't believe in myself enough, that I wasn't worthy because of all these people around me, because I was that boy at school that got bullied for being overweight, that got bullied for being into hip hop, that got bullied for loving the Ninja Turtles, that got bullied for being a geek. And that set me back a lot of confidence. And even now, I have to work at confidence. I have to work at it a lot, to the point of, like, behind me, behind the screen, there's a big canvas of The Lion King, and it's got young Simba, and it's got Timon and Pumbaa, and then it's got a big Simba, like fully grown, but he's still got his guardians there. And when I do some meditation, I know that I've got my guardians there. I know that I've got my dad on my shoulder, and he's there protecting me. And that helped a lot with confidence. But when I let that slip, I do sometimes think, am I good enough for this? And that's held me back a lot in the past. And there'll be moments when I have to really, come on, Ollie, I need to do it, and I need to go for it and get that confidence at a certain moment. But I do have to work hard at that. I'm an introvert at heart, and doing videos almost daily on Facebook, doing podcasts, doing interviews, and doing public speaking, I have to tap into my extrovert side. Traveling around the world, I never thought I would do that when I was 14, 15 years old, because I was too scared to do it. Now I think nothing of getting on a couple of planes and getting on the underground, getting on the subway in New York to get from different place to place. And confidence has been a massive weakness of mine. And that has been confidence in my abilities, and also confidence in what other people think of me. But I'm working on it. Yeah. I'm working on it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can relate with that, because I'm I had that in common. So as far as some people like to go to a certain place and get their ideas going. Is there a particular place you go to get your ideas? Maybe nature or a certain place in the house?
I go out on my bike, and I grew up in an endurance world, went completely the wrong way, went the way I wanted to go, into strength, but I still live in a family of endurance athletes, and going out on my bike, I do it most mornings, and that's about 60 to 90 minutes. And that's the time when I call it my movement meditation. People say you train twice a day, but that's not training to me. Just going out on my bike, nothing hard, nothing really strenuous. Yes, you're burning calories, you're doing some work, but I get a lot of ideas there. And then I'll hit record on a voice note, and I'll jot that note down when I get home once I've listened to the voice note. And I feel that my mind, as a lot of people in the entrepreneurial world, my mind is constantly working. And when I get an idea, I have to write it down. I have so many ideas for content that comes down. I never used to write it down. I'd say, I'll wait until I got home to write it down. So I'm prepared when it comes to it to write down. Now, I do find myself, sometimes I will just go into the woods and just walk through there into the forest around here and just simply go for a 20-minute walk. No podcast on, nothing like that. Just simply go for a walk, and that helps. And the other place, which is going to sound so obvious being into where I am, is the gym. I go there and work out. It gives me energy. I don't go to annihilate myself in the gym. I go to add to my day. And people think that workouts take away from your day, but the way I do workouts for people and the way I work out for myself, it adds energy, it adds focus, it adds performance in there. So that would be the other place I go.
Oh, very good, very good. So if you're describing maybe your business from a very, very, very high level for someone that wants to get into what you're doing, how would you describe that?
I make sure guys don't die before seeing their children reach their full potential. Simple as that. Now, people want instant gratification, so it doesn't work with that all the time. People don't always have kids, so it doesn't work with that all the time. So we make sure that, are you really feeling as healthy as you know you could be? Are you really as confident as you know you could be? When you walk past that mirror and you've got no clothes on, are you feeling as good about yourself as you could be? And what have you done in the last 3 months to do that? To change that, to improve that? Have you just been putting it off? No? Well, what would you like to happen in the next 3 months? Or would you like to stay the same or get worse? And if there's change, let's talk. If you want to change, let's talk. You're happy being the same? That's cool. And that's essentially where we go in, because it's not just fitness. It's not just nutrition. It's not just training. The mind and the mindset behind it is more powerful than any training session could ever be. Once you get that sorted, training and nutrition takes care of itself.
Okay. And as far as for people to reach out to you, obviously to be able to contact you and be able to see you either social media or email.
So numbers, my main website is revitalizationblueprint.com. That's spelled the American way with a Z. And if you want to reach out to me, revitalizationblueprint.com/let's talk. There's a few questions there to fill out, and just email me and we can chat. Now, Facebook, you can get me Ollie Matthews. Drop me a message there. There's a lot of Facebook Lives on there. There's a lot of content on there. Or even just message me on my personal page, which is Ollie Jordan Matthews. And don't be one of these people that adds people, and then I will make sure when I add someone, confirm them as a request. I'll say, hey, how's it going? Thanks for the request. Don't be one of these people that just ignores that. Just say, look, I heard you on the podcast. I love what you spoke about. Can we talk? So do that. And then Instagram is OJAYPT.
Ollie, it's been great having you on the program today, and I certainly look forward to seeing how you progress over the future. And again, thanks for being on, and as I tell everybody, certainly
thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, my friend.